Hello and welcome to our race. There are 4 of us and we'll be racing in these Renault Clio Cup cars against 11 AI cars at the Virginia International Raceway North circuit. So here we go. The lights don't go out but we're off. And we'll get a pretty even start. And coming into the first corner, Chopper's holding the lead. Benson's looking on the outside, trying to cut inside. Give him a little bump. Chopper checks his mirror, see where Benson is. Harvey's pulled away from Jim a bit. Bit of a lock up in the corner there. Chopper and Benson chopping that left-hander and into the right. The left and right, got a bit of a straight. Fairly steady at the moment. Jim's dropped back a little bit. Harvey's catching up into that corner. Chopper's pulled away a little bit. Up over the rise. It's a blind right. Up over another rise and another blind right. Fast right, and we're back onto the start finish straight for the second lap. So Chopper's pulled about a second lead. Harvey's dropped back. He's 3.5 seconds behind, and Jim is closed up. Jim got a good exit on the last corner. It's closed right up on Harvey into the first corner. Well, looks like Benson's having a lot of wheel spin out of the first corner. Still managed to hang on to Chopper, just about a second behind still. Jim's still managed to stay pretty close to Harvey. Those two have dropped back a few seconds now. They're what, 4.5, 5 seconds behind the first two. Coming in this right hand uphill with a bump in it, or a dip. Got through there cleanly. As did Harvey and Jim. Up over the rise, Chopper's into the second blind corner, pulled out a bit more of a lead, pulled another half a second on Benson. Into the downhill section. Jim's dropped back a bit from Harvey this time. And coming around to start the third lap. Benson still managed to hang on, he's just under a second behind. And Harvey has dropped back another second or so, is nearly 6 seconds behind now, and Jim's another second or so behind Harvey. And Benson's catching up with Chopper a little bit, he's pulled back a couple of tenths. Oh, was having a bit of a lock up there. Lost a little bit of time. Bouncing over the curbs. As the lead two come onto the shorts back straight. Benson's still, he's lost a couple of tenths at the moment. And Harvey and Jim doing. Jim's dropped another second or so off of Harvey. He's 2 seconds behind Harvey now, but Harvey is now nearly 6 seconds behind Benson, who's dropped a few tenths. He's about a second and a half behind Chopper at the moment as they come into the downhill section. Around the fast right hand, leading back out to the start finish straight again to finish lap 3. and start lap 4. So Benson's pulled a bit back now, he's just about a second behind. Harvey's dropped back a bit further, he's now 7 seconds behind, 7.5 seconds behind, and Jim is still hanging on about 2 seconds behind. So this is a 16 lap race and with a compulsory pit stop. Oh, Jim's off. Jim outbraked himself and he's gone off onto the grass. He's managed to recover before the AI car comes round, so he's still in 4th place, but he's dropped another 6, 7, 8 seconds behind Harvey. Yeah, I was saying this is a compulsory pit stop race. You must change tyres and add fuel, and you weren't allowed to start the race with more than 8 laps worth of fuel on board. So effectively you've got to add at least 8 laps of fuel in the pit stop. Anyway, so Benson's still about a second behind Chopper as they go through the downhill section. Into the fast right and coming back onto the start finish straight. And they're starting their 5th lap. And Benson's closed up nearly half a second. And Harvey's in the pits. Harvey's made an early pit stop. Not quite sure of the tactics behind that. He was running in clean air anyway, so don't know. We'll have to speak to him after the race. Which puts Jim up into 3rd place. As Chopper and Benson continue their battle out front. So Benson's dropped back to just around a second and a bit. Oh, Chopper's gone wide. That corner's lost some speed. Benson's cashing in quickly. Bit of curb on the inside. And can he get through? Yeah, Benson's into the lead. Taking advantage of Chopper's error there, outbraking himself into the tight right on the uphill. So Benson leads them down the downhill section through the S's. Into the fast right, a bit squiggly there from Benson, but he managed to keep it going. And Chopper is right with him. Just over a quarter of a second behind. A quick pan round and see how far behind he is. And Chopper is closing very slightly, perhaps in a slipstream. So into the first corner. Oh, Benson's outbraked himself and he's gone off onto the grass. He's let Chopper through back into the lead. Oh, he didn't go off far. He managed to get back on the track quickly, and he's dropped 2 seconds behind Chopper. Oh, he must be kicking himself for that one. The weather looks like it's getting darker. It's not as sunny as it was earlier. Oh, wipers. We've got wipers going. There must be some rain out on the circuit. Wasn't expecting that. Well, everybody except Chopper's wipers are going. Cutting a lot of curb, and a bit of grass on that right-hander. Can't see any rain at the moment. Got a feeling the replay is just not going to show rain in much detail. So Benson's managed to claw back half a second or so. He's now just 1.5 seconds behind Chopper as they come around to start the next lap. So this will be lap 7 as Harvey has a bit of a lock up. Or was it wheel spin? Smoke in the tyres. Quick spin round, and yeah, Benson's just over a second behind, just caught up a little bit more. Chopper looks like he's running wide in the first corner, and Benson's managed to close up 3 or 4 tenths just in that corner. Harvey's out on his own now, going through the uphill S's part into the blind right-hander as Jim comes into the first corner. Oh, Jim's in trouble. No, he's just managed to hang on to it. So Chopper is leading Benson into the short straight at the back and about 3/4 of a second behind. Managed to get it turned in that time, nice and tidy. Harvey's running in clean air, there's no one anywhere near him, but he's still down in 14th place. He hasn't caught up with the AI cars yet. And Jim's on the short back straight, out on his own as well. As Chopper and Benson come down the S's towards the end of the lap. Into the tight right, or tightest right, and through the fast right into another lap. Benson's still got his wipers going, so it must still be raining out there. The track is looking a bit darker now, the clouds are definitely darker, but he's right up with Chopper now, just a tenth or so behind him into the first corner. They're braking very carefully for the wet track. And Chopper gets out the corner a little bit quicker. As Jim comes around to finish his 7th lap. Oh, Benson's caught right up with Chopper in those 2 left-hand corners. The track is definitely looking wet now. You can see the water on the surface. And Chopper still hasn't got his wipers going. I wonder if he's got an electrical problem or something. I'm sure the rain will be hampering his vision quite badly, even though it doesn't show it in the replay. And Chopper's a little bit wide into that right-hander, but he's managed to stay on the track. Benson's closed up a little bit now, just half a second behind. Jim's running in 3rd, he's now 25 seconds behind after his couple of problems. And Harvey's nearly a minute behind after his pit stop. Oh, he's running deep. Oh, he put a couple of tyres on the grass, but just managed to hang on to it at the first corner. So Chopper's now pulled out another second on Benson. Obviously feeling a bit more confident in the wet. And Chopper's pitted. Chopper's gone at the pits, and so is Benson. They're both in the pits at the same time. At the end of lap 8. Now these pit stops do seem to take an awful long time, and the pit crew don't seem to be shown in the replays, which is a bit of a shame. So it looks like they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, but in the game there was actually something going on. Oh, Jim has also pitted at the end of lap 8. Now he goes through Benson and he goes through Chopper. That puts him into the lead in the pits, but not for long, as Benson's away first and Chopper's away. Benson's ghosted through Chopper and takes the lead, leaving the pits. Wow, it's a good job the ghosting worked on this, otherwise that would have been a disastrous accident for both of them. So, Benson, the wipers are all going double speed now, the rain must be getting heavier. Except for Chopper's, who's persevering. Oh, Chopper's off! Chopper's got off on the first corner, he's off onto the grass. He's managed to get it going again. Got back on the circuit. Oh, he's dropped 6 seconds, 5.5, 6 seconds behind Benson now. As Jim leaves the pits, as Harvey comes into the pits. Harvey going for a second pit stop, trying to get wet tyres on. Now we were actually stitched up because Chopper arranged the race and he didn't tell anyone that he'd put changeable weather on, and I think he selected wets for his tyre change at the pit stops. But after it started raining, I managed to use the on-screen menu to change my tyre selection to wets for the pit stop. But Jim and Harvey weren't able to do that. They couldn't find the menu button, or they didn't have it set up. And Jim has been unable to change tyres. He's gone back out on another set of slick tyres, where Harvey in his second pit stop has managed to get wet tyres on, I believe. So back to the lead of the race, and Chopper has closed up a bit on Benson. He's now just two and a bit seconds behind, as Jim is now getting swallowed up by the AI cars. Doesn't really stand much chance if he's staying out on the slicks. I think Jim's hoping it's going to dry out, but that's pretty unlikely at this stage. And Harvey's retired. Harvey has retired from the race. Maybe he couldn't get wet tyres on and went back out on slicks that second time. Jim's off. Jim's taken a long cut across the grass, struggling against the AI. That's dropped him back to 12th place. He goes into the downhill section, going very slowly, just trying to keep it on the track at this stage. And back at the front, Chopper has closed another half a second or so on Benson. They're on their 10th lap now. The lap times have dropped off quite a lot by 10 seconds or so, I think. As the leaders come onto the short back straight. Oh, Benson's got his lights on. Jim's got his lights on. Chopper hasn't got his lights on. Oh, must be having an electrical problem. Yeah, Jim's just starting his 10th lap and coming up for the first corner, braking really early, trying to get it stopped. It's almost stationary, but it's still run wide. Not too far, just managed to ease it back onto the circuit again as the last few AI cars start catching him up. And Chopper's right on the tail of Benson now. He's caught right up, he's only half a second behind. Oh, Jim nudging cars into the slower corners, using the other cars to brake. Oh, Chopper's gone wide again. Chopper's just off on the grass. Managed to recover it back on the inside grass, got it straightened up, and he's off again. But he's dropped down to 5.5 seconds behind now. Just having a spin round on Benson. Can't see any close by traffic because Chopper's just had that off. Perhaps he's suffering with lack of visibility, not having the wipers on. His brake lights are working now, it's something I suppose. So he managed to get into the first corner and get it stopped. And he's gained another second back on Benson as he's in the double left-hander. And a lot of spray getting thrown up by the cars. Just managed to keep it on the track at the moment. Jim is just going so slow on those slick tyres though. Hats off for persevering. Oh, as I say, that is off again. Couldn't stop for that corner, and he's just taken a long trip across the grass trying to find the circuit. I'm sure we'll find it in a minute. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, so just coming up to finish his 11th lap. No, 10th lap. He'll be starting his 11th lap for Jim. Benson and Chopper just heading into the downhill section. So the circuit's looking very shiny. Obviously he's soaking wet now. Oh, Chopper's run wide, he's on the grass, but he's managed not to go too far. He's got it back on the track again. Without losing too much time as well. So he's still just over 5 seconds behind. As Benson crosses the line to start lap 12. And 5 seconds later, so does Chopper. Looks like Benson had a bit of a problem in that first corner. Chopper's closed the second up. Now only 4 seconds behind. Benson's in the double left-hander. Just managed to get through there, staying off the curbs as Chopper takes the curbs. And Jim's retired. Jim is in the pits and Jim has retired as well. Obviously had enough trying to scrabble around on his slick tyres. So that just leaves the lead two then, both on wet tyres. Chopper doesn't seem to have any lights or wipers, so I'm sure he's struggling with visibility still, but he's still going at a good pace. Benson's out in front over the blind right-handers, back into the downhill section. Just the Chopper's coming up, and now down to the downhill section. Fast right, which isn't as fast now in the wet, just riding the curbs a little bit, and a good exit. Having a quick look in the mirror, can't see Chopper through the spray. Chopper's closed up a bit more and they're only 3.5 seconds behind. As we go on to lap 13. Benson's into the first corner and gets round. Chopper takes a bit of curve and almost runs wide, just has to brake a bit more to tuck it in, and he gets away with that, but it's cost him some time. Goes into two left-handers here, you can start seeing Benson in the slower sections. Benson's gone a bit wide on those S's into the short straight, and he's clipped the tyres on the outside as well. That's going to cost him quite a lot of time. So that's going to give Chopper a good opportunity to catch up. It's only a second behind him, coming up to the end of the short straight. Benson's braking for the right-hander. Chopper's braking. Oh, he's out-braked himself. He's on the grass again. Oh dear. He nearly ran into the back of Benson, but he's managed to scrabble back onto some tarmac and get going. Giving Benson another chance to get away again. He's, what, 4 seconds ahead? So can Chopper close up those 4 seconds again? 3 laps including... No, 3 laps after this one. So through the downhill sections, but he goes around the last couple of corners. As does Chopper, using a lot of curb. Coming up the straight, and that's the end of the 13th lap. And into the 14th lap, and Chopper is just over 4 seconds behind. So Benson into the first corner, followed by Chopper. So Chopper took a wider line in. Chopper's run a bit wide in the two left-handers, just using all the curb and a bit more that's available there. Run a bit deep into that corner, but managed to hang on to it. But it seems to be working for him. He's gained a couple of seconds on Benson now as they come onto the short back straight. Just 2.5 seconds behind. Benson having a look in the mirror. Can't see his light because he's not using any. Into the uphill section, and so does Chopper through the downhill S's. With his lights on, Chopper has not got his lights on. Maybe he's trying to be stealthy in the spray and not make himself too visible. So through the downhill section. Check of the mirror, Chopper's still 2.5 seconds behind. So through the last corner and onto the start-finish straight. And Benson's 2.8 seconds ahead at the moment as they start the 15th lap, so 2 laps to go. So Benson's into the first corner. Navigate that safely. Looks like Chopper had a bit of a slide into the corner, but he's still going lost a tenth or two. Really double left-hander. Benson's using all the curb on that one. Chopper's much tighter for that corner, or on the little straight between the corners. And he's made up quite a bit of time. He's made up a second in that last section. Benson might have been a bit cautious. Through the S's onto the back straight. Still 1.8 seconds ahead. Brakes into the right hand uphill. Chopper's there still 1.8 seconds behind, didn't gain anything in that corner. Through the downhill section, through the blind crests. Chopper taking a lot of grass and curb on that one. Glanced in the mirror of Benson. Oh, perhaps shouldn't have done that. He's out-braked himself. He's on the grass. Oh no, he's thrown away the lead. He's looking for a way back on the track, but he's got no speed, and Chopper's straight past him. Chopper goes into the lead with a lap and a couple of corners to go. Benson's managed to get back up to speed really quickly, and as they come onto the start-finish straight, he's just a quarter of a second or so behind Chopper. He's flashing his lights at him, trying to distract him. But they're still very close into the first corner. Chopper's braking, Benson's braking. They're both pretty tight. Chopper uses a bit more curb on the inside, runs a little bit wide, leaves the door open. Benson's looking, he's looking. But the next corner goes left, so that's not going to go anywhere for him. He backs out of it. Chopper's quite wide on the curb there, so is Benson. The left Chopper's got a bit wide on that corner. Benson's closed right up again. He's right with him as we come onto this short straight on the back. Oh, Benson's had a slide out and on the grass. Oh no! He's got back on the track. It's costing a few tenths. He's dropping back from Chopper now. He's nearly a second behind now. As we go into the uphill section for the last time, the last lap. Through the downhill and into the blind crests. Chopper's still using the curb. Benson using a little bit of curb. Oh, Chopper's gone wide. Chopper's missed his line on the second blind crest and he's off onto the grass. Oh, he's handed it back to Benson. Chopper's right up against the barrier and he can't get going. He's just wheel spinning away in the grass. Oh, just what, 3-4 corners to go and Chopper threw it away. And Benson gladly takes the lead as he comes onto the start-finish straight for the last time. And it's over the line to win the race for Benson. And 8 seconds later, Chopper arrives, furious with himself as he chucks the car all over the circuit.